What is up, everybody? Rambling Gamer coming at you today with more Kaiju Corner, where we talk about kaiju related material you may not have heard of or at the very least looked into. Today we are going to be taking a little bit of a break from the Godzilla IDW comics to talk about a graphic novel simply titled Giant Monster. Written by Steve Niles, who's probably best known for writing the 30 Days of Night series, which was turned into a pretty popular vampire flick, Giant Monster really seems to try hard to cross scary and kaiju. And I'm gonna be honest, guys, these are two things I've never seen work together. If giant monsters were rampaging through the world, I'm sure it'd be scary as all hell. It'd be very much in the same way that a tornado would be scary as all hell if it touched down right outside my town. But in the contents of a story, I've just never found the majority of giant monsters to be all that horrifying. Well, let's break this thing down a little bit. The storyline for Giant Monster is extremely straightforward. An astronaut with some life problems gets turned into a giant monster, falls out of the sky, and starts attacking LA. The military tries to stop it, and when that doesn't work, of course, they resort to something crazy. In this case, a giant Nazi robot. Now you know why I wanted to buy this thing in the first place. Moving on to characters, our astronaut turned kaiju, Don Maggart, isn't really the main character of this book. Strangely, it doesn't seem to have a main character at all. There's very little to say about Don. His speech is very limited, especially when he's turned into the giant monster. The giant monster, on the other hand, is far more interesting. It doesn't have much of a personality. It does say a few things, but mostly it eats. Like everyone and everything. In fact, this is the monster's main goal, simply to devour and get bigger. Furthermore, the monster has a healing factor that would make both Godzilla and Wolverine jealous of it, being able to instantly regenerate limbs. On the downside of this, it seems to have a very strange hide. At times, it's very inconsistent. We see bits of it being blown off at one point, limbs being blown off in another, and at other times it seems to just shrug off weapons like most other kaiju would. Also, when you get stepped on, you come back as a zombie kind of thing, I guess. Now, the closest we do actually get to a main character is probably General Gorgos, who's the lead general trying to kill the giant monster. But honestly, other than that, you get a little bit of dialogue between him and a few other characters, and, well, that's really it. There's not a lot to characters in this story. The atmosphere. This one seemed like it would be uber thick. I mean, you have a giant monster fighting a giant Nazi robot. But once you get past that, the atmosphere is just very underwhelming. Most of the story's just the giant monster killing people and wrecking stuff, with enough blood and gore to go around to make you immune to it completely by the ending. Honestly, after viewing a bunch of sharks and divers getting ripped in half by the giant monster, I was pretty immune to whatever this story was going to throw at me in contents of gore. It's very clear when reading this, it's written by a modern day horror writer, because honestly, if you watch a lot of quote-unquote scary movies, this is gonna be weak sauce to you. The ending comes extremely abruptly. The story reads pretty damn fast as is, only taking about 15 minutes to go through, and that's really setting back and enjoying the thing. You also get a lot of unanswered questions at the end, but thankfully it's not really a cliffhanger ending, which I suppose is good, although I would almost prefer this to set up for a sequel considering it is so short. I did get a lot of personal enjoyment out of reading this graphic novel, as you would expect when you have a giant monster fighting a giant Nazi robot. I also found the fact that when the monster steps on people, they get turned into zombies a pretty damn cool idea. Unfortunately, it really doesn't go anywhere. Also, the fight scenes in this make the one in Godzilla 2014 look long as all hell. It is worth noting, though, that comic book fight scenes aren't anywhere near as epic as what they are when they're animated. My final verdict is Giant Monster is certainly worth the read. I paid $5 for mine, which isn't a bad price at all. However, when you do consider most of the Godzilla comics are $2, and you get just as much, if not more, out of them, then it's a hard decision. I'd say if you see this in a bookstore and you have 15 minutes to kill, just go ahead and read it. On the other hand, I would love to see this made into a movie where they actually had more time to work with stuff. extending the length of the fight scene, maybe doing a little bit more with the zombie thing, a little bit more character interactions. Those would all be great additions. And maybe if we could get a little bit more of an explanation as to what the hell the things are that turned Dawn into a giant monster in the first place, because that would be great. Anyway, guys, did you like this video? If you did, why not click that like button? And if you want to see some more of these videos talking about the IDW Godzilla comics I've already covered, I'll have some annotations up for you. Anyway, guys, this has been Ramblin' Gamer. Watch out for bears.